Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
Welcome back to the Sellik, the Thunder podcast, episode 149, and we're back in the studio today for what feels like a weird episode. Circumstances have made it quite weird. In fact, it feels awful similar to the type of podcast or episode you would have seen in the year 2021. But nonetheless, we're here. We should be off this week because normally an international break would give us a wee week off, but we weren't here last week, and I feel like there's too much to talk about to take this week off as well. So sit down for the next wee while, get ready. I'm going to be chatting away with the two guests joining me this evening. We'll start with the man in pink. Very dapper, by the way. You've brought a lot of life to a studio that should be deep.
It's going to blend in with the back wall, just about that stands it.
How you doing?
Okay. Celtic aside, not too bad. Starting a new job on Monday, so it should be interesting. No longer needing to fight for my places to get a Saturday off for the games, but I'll probably be asking for Saturday shifts if it keeps up this way.
Say, you might want to hold that phone. Actually, so congratulations on the new job.
Thank you very much, mate.
Back to normal shifts.
Just shame myself to through that.
Well, listen, we are all full of laughs and jokes here, but we will get to the nitty-gritty before people start moaning. Calum, thank you for joining me. Dylan, I would ask you the same question. I think I know what your answer will be.
I guess it's the first time I don't mind an international break, to be honest. I'm like, can't bother.
So I can just spare, how are you, and just...
Nah, you can just ping me. Not good at all, not good at all. I was thinking about getting a bit of cut of muffins and CM Punk it out here, man. But
it feels like that, doesn't it? Like the proper brawl-out type interview. We're just going to go ham and shoot for the moon.
It's not going to be fun. But, here we are.
Needs must.
We were somehow prepared for this. Like, we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. It could have been a crisis, and here we are.
Well, that's it. It feels like the last couple of podcasts have been brewing towards this sort of episode. And before I even get into it, I do apologise for the negative tones that have been on the channel, and I'm sure that you're fed up of hearing me moan, so I've decided, hey, why don't I bring in two other people who can moan to various my moans. On that note, thank you for listening to the podcast so far this season. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on Spotify as well for the audio-only versions of the show. And of course, you can become part of the Thunder Club today if you're wanting extra content, because that's the only place where you'll hear us probably go away from Celtic for a wee bit and talk about some other things where we have a smile on our face. Today, well, we'll be talking about Celtic a wee bit, but we'll keep that as a surprise for Thunder Club members. Listen. It's a big podcast, and this week I didn't prepare the sheets. I thought to myself, what's the point? Because I think what we all know what we're here to do. We're here to discuss the absolute shambles that is Celtic Football Club at the minute. We have fans releasing statements. We have every podcaster, every fan media outlet saying the same thing. We have supporters boycotting the home cup ticket scheme. Dylan, you kind of touched on it in your reintroduction there. This is something that's been building for a couple of weeks, and we sat here on a few podcasts saying, we'll believe it will get better. We believe that Celtic can go and sign in the summer window to prepare ourselves. But here we are on the 4th? Yep, the 4th of September. Celtic are out the Champions League. We failed to beat Rangers in the first derby of the season. We haven't strengthened our side to the level required. Where do we go from here, I suppose? It feels like this was just inevitable all along.
As you said, there's just what you've named off there. There's just so much to talk about. Like, you don't even know where to begin in a podcast like this. It's just, you've not been here in a while, and it's just, there's so much to talk about. But if you want, we could talk about the derby itself. I think that was one of the first things that annoyed me. I think we came on here saying it needs to improve. That's now 4 derbies, I think, without beating Rangers, and then even the one we did beat them, it was penalties, which easily could have went Rangers' way. So right away, I look at that. I look at not just that, but the performances itself in the Rangers game. I don't mind losing a derby if Celtic have just been unlucky and Rangers have got lucky and have just scraped it. But it's the fact the performance was absolutely shocking. It was just kind of, again, 2.0. There's just no energy, no passion, no fight. Some of the decisions were baffling. I think you look at the game, I think we had 2 shots on target, I think it was. And even then, Butland's no troubled whatsoever. And obviously Rangers weren't any better, but I think it's just for that Celtic level, you should be looking at that Rangers team, and that should have been a guaranteed 3 points. But any other team, you'd probably take a draw at Ibrox, and then this circumstance, it's just, you see the state they're in, and it's just an absolute embarrassment.
It does feel like drawing to a side that has started the season that poorly is a bad result. I think you can just be brutally honest about it, and especially when we brag about how good Celtic are in these derbies that actually matter, to then play in the fashion we played. It's pretty embarrassing, Calum, and it's a letdown, because I know a lot of it has been put down to, Celtic having a strength and Brendan hasn't got the tools to do what he does, but we still should be playing better than... I mean, this isn't just like a poor performance. This is an abhorrent showing. And even some of our best and biggest players, like the captain and Kieran Tierney and all the rest of it, Dyson Maeda, they aren't playing either. So something just feels seriously off on the pitch as well at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can definitely see it within the players and within the team that the kind of the issues higher up in the club. It's obviously played into some effect.
Aye. Very
rarely that you hear a Celtic captain come out. Obviously, this was after the Almaty, the away leg, and said, we need to strengthen this team. Very rarely, usually, we just hear him saying, it's fine, we trust the club will do the right things and the manager will get us playing this way again. For him to come out himself and go, no, we need to strengthen, and for us to then essentially just do a full 180 in that and continue to then weaken ourselves, it's just absolutely madness to me.
The captain, though, he's somebody like... I'm glad that you've actually kicked us off with this, Dylan, because I've not even done like a proper derby deep dive or reaction this week because I was away. So I'm glad we've actually started here. The captain as well is like, he's under scrutiny, and rightfully so, because at the weekend, again, another questionable derby performance, another questionable big game performance. The people are genuinely asking the question of him, is he finished? Because so far this season, he's not making an argument that he's no finished, and that is a point of concern.
Oh, definitely. Just the way you were saying that, I said when it went against months down the line, the end of the season, you're like Calum McGregor. Somehow the last 6 months of a brilliant season, there's Ryan's face at the start of an edit. See what the Creed edits folk have been making? It's that, it's just him pulling himself back. But no, as you said, massively questionable. I think one of the most bizarre moments I get is right at the end of the game, but it's at the edge of your box and he just switches off completely. And sure enough, gets the ball next to him. I'm like, what is going on
One
there?
of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Because it's so... See if it was anybody else.
Could that easily cost us...
But it's McGregor.
But he's the last person you expect to fin the park. Like, Casper, a couple of ropey passes we've seen mid-moments, but then again, for McGregor, you think usually he's the one, you're surprised he keeps a hold of the ball that long, and he's not ready to touch and pass it back as it is. It's just madness to me.
So many people have spoke about this maybe third season syndrome that exists with Brendan Rodgers. It happened, you could argue, his first tenure here and his last season, things got a wee bit stale. It happened to him at Leicester City when they really started to suffer. Happened at Liverpool after he went to challenge for a league title, then kind of started falling off. Maybe that does exist. Maybe that does, but everything is just so uncharacteristic. The captain, as we've spoke about, the way that we can't score goals or create chances, the way the football is dried up. I mean, when we think back to last season, the football we were playing at the beginning of the campaign was just unbelievable. It was brilliant. And Callum McGregor, just to go back to him for a minute, was enjoying some of the best football of his career at the start of last season. What is going wrong?
That's what makes it so baffling. I think Celtic are one of the only teams that could take that Bayern Munich game and go backwards. Like any other team would be like, right, we know what we need today to improve. We're all looking forward to the Champions League this season to try and better what we've done last season, because that's probably the best in a while we've been, and we've just went backwards, and now we're sitting here not even confident for the Europa League. How can it just shows you how fast everything can change? But that's what makes it more baffling. It's just Celtic had so long to prepare and we had so much time. Even in the Kairat game, I said to you here, I thought we got a lucky draw and we still couldn't see it through. We had longer to prepare than Rangers and we're still sitting here now not getting the job done. It's just absolutely baffling.
Yeah, we'll get on to that in a moment, because it has been an embarrassing amount of time for preparation, and preparation that wasn't even completed. To kind of round up all the stuff about the derby, because we are a few days on now, I think the worrying thing is that there was just no sign of improvement and no sign of life, even with the new signing. And I'm not, it's one game, but Michelle didn't look great against Rangers, and he was a victim of the whole let's move forward, up, back we go, wait, up, back we go, passing backwards, refusing to take a man on. Are you worried about that at all, Calum? Do you think that's an instruction that's came from the manager? Do you think it's a lack of confidence inspired by the rest of the team? It is something of concern.
Oh, definitely. I think it's then the fact of, again, even if he does go and take his man on and he beats him, you've not really got somebody in the box to aim for at that point. My head is hard, like, I'm not saying I'm not them putting it down to the likes of either. So we've seen the way he started the season, but you've not got that you've not got that striker to aim for if you're putting a ball into the box after you beat a man. So you wonder, but then again, like, there was points when you'd think, go and stretch your legs, take a run at James Tavernier, and he just turns back. It's been coached at wingers for years now. Aye. We've seen it for the likes of Pep teams. Obviously, we had this rant a couple of weeks ago in the Thunder Club, but like just that, it's just why are you not going and taking him on? Because he should have confidence within himself. Most like the fact that the first game you come into, it's a big game like that. Go and make a name for yourself, and honestly, you could put Lewis Palmer out there doing the exact same thing, it wouldn't have made a difference.
And then they go out deadline day and they don't really improve in the front line. I mean, they brought in two players that I think are under already a bit of scrutiny from Celtic supporters. He and Acho, not proven in the last few years that he's maybe still got it. Tenetsky is someone who doesn't have the stats or the pedigree to suggest he's going to be a game changer at Celtic. It's got to be a big few weeks in that regard. But Dylan, just to kind of round it, let's kind of round off the Derby chat in a minute, because we're going to spend the next, let's just be perfectly clear here to everybody at home, the next however long of this podcast is probably going to be us talking about the board, the failings of the transfer window, the failings of moving forward, all of that jazz. We're going to be talking a lot about three specific figures, those being Michael Nicholson, Peter Lawwell and Dermot Desmond. However, there has been a lot of scrutiny on the back of Brendan Rodgers this past couple of weeks, Dylan, and coming from Brendan Rodgers, mega fan number one, it is warranted scrutiny, it is warranted criticism. What happens next for Rodgers, and how long does he have to sway? He's going to be here to the end of the season. I think he should be here to the end of the season. But how long does he have to win over the Celtic supporters before there seems to be a mutiny on his side of things as well? Because that seems to be the way it's heading online anyway.
I think it might just depend now on this Europa League run, because if any way to salvage a season is do a good Europa League run, but we're all sitting here now and it just isn't like it's going to happen. And I think it's just so concerning how, obviously Brendan Rodgers is in charge. I think the team he put out was probably the team we expected, but when you look at Negrin as well, he didn't look good on the wing. Hitati and McGregor and Engels again not really showing up in these games, but the fact, I think Brendan Rodgers didn't even include Kenny in the squad, and then he's included Yamada coming on for the bench, and he doesn't include the Europa League squad. It's just
it's weird, isn't it?
I think stuff like that for Brendan Rodgers is just a bit bizarre, because also at the end of the day it's him in charge bringing these players on and stuff, so it's all a lot to answer, and we'll get into it when it comes to the board and stuff. But some of Brendan Rodgers' decisions lately have been a bit questionable as well, so at the end of the day he is no immune to criticism, and hopefully he can turn it around, but it could be his last season, and as you say, they will stay at the end of the season, I suppose.
Do you think he's feeling any pressure at all, even like if it's subliminal or something? I don't know. Do you think that maybe everything that's going on is putting a wee bit of pressure on him? This isn't me trying to excuse him, by the way, but like, do you think at all that maybe there's just all this pressure from the fans building on the board that he feels a responsibility to pick things up, and maybe he's just making the wrong decisions? Or do you think it is just poor decision making for what it is?
You do want to say it is just poor decision making at points, but then again, like, it's not as if he's an inexperienced manager. He's been about for years, he's been here before, he knows the way everything runs up in this goldfish bowl, if you will, in Scotland and Glasgow. So it's like, you would like to think something would have to come good of something, but then again, as you said, even yourself being his biggest fan, he can't avoid any form of scrutiny at all, because again, then he's picking the players in the pitch. It's not as if he's picked the tactic, I just couldn't play the game.
Aye.
Like, it wasn't like that Solskjaer at points in United. He's like, okay, I just want to play, on you go.
Aye.
Like,
it's not just blaming Brendan Rodgers as well, but it's the fact that football was that poor, and you look at teams like St Mirren, Dundee, they all managed to take a goal for that Rangers team.
Aye.
Like, you look at the Rangers fans will say to themselves, that's one of the worst centre-back partnerships defence I've ever seen.
Aye.
And we couldn't even trouble that for 90
Something
minutes.
has to change.
It is absolutely ridiculous.
Something has to change. We can't keep playing football in this way, and like, Rodgers needs to realise that. I don't know if there is this third season syndrome where teams suss him out, but he is meant to be an elite manager, and he needs to understand that, like, well, if I need to change, change. We need to score goals. It has to be. You can't just sit idly by and leave it be. So, no, you're right. We should be scoring at that Rangers team. The fact we're not, and I get it. Like, Rangers raised their game for us. Like, there's no doubt about that. Players are more alert. They're more switched on. They're more eager to keep Celtic from scoring. But oh my God, like, teams are scoring 2 or 3 goals. Club Bruce scored what? 9 altogether into them.
9 all in, aye.
So many minutes as well.
And we can't score 1. And last year we went toe-to-toe with Bruges in the Champions League. Maybe the drop-off is just that bad. I don't know, but it's a poor state of affairs on the park just now. But does it compare to the state of affairs off the park, which is mostly what we're here for? Dylan, you must be excited to an extent. You weren't here during the COVID. This is the first time you get to sit in this podcast and proper let rip it for
Get a rant going.
You've not missed much, right enough. It usually makes you feel quite done by the time it's finished. Before we get into it, very quickly, the North Curve have released a statement, as you all know, demanding answers, clarity, and just overall responsibility to be claimed by the Celtic board for what has been a shambolic state of affairs at the club, and especially in this transfer window. They released that statement on Wednesday evening. Now, at the end of that statement, they had a list of all the supporters clubs, fan media groups, and fan organisations that have co-signed it. You may have noticed that the Sellik, the funder, were not on that list. Don't worry, we agree with everything that has been said. I'm sure Dylan and Calum will agree.
Yep.
And I have ever since now emailed them to let them know that when the next updated list is says signed and published, we would like to be included, which has been acknowledged. So don't worry, we are on the same side of the fence here. We'll know back the ball, we will be on that list. But wow, what a sorry state of affairs we are in, and things are heating up. So where do we even begin? Where do we start? What a shambles of a transfer window. How can it even be justified?
I think we should start off with the signings. Like, you've already seen the Europa League squad, and obviously we knew Inamura wasn't like a Brendan Rodgers favourite and stuff like that. But the fact Yamada and Simpson Pusey and that as they included in this Europa League squad, and it's just that way as well. The board looked at that. We've looked at the Kairat game. We've not seen improvement for Rangers, and we've still had days and weeks after that to bring in people and get the thing right. But when it came to all season about the offers, the transfer money, just the messing about and panicking on deadline day and after deadline day to buy free agents, it's just an absolute mess.
Deadline day summed it all up, didn't it? Just panicking and scrambling for players that we could have maybe signed weeks beforehand, forcing ourselves into situations, Dylan, where the likes of Kasper Dolberg then had a move to Ajax open up for him. That could have been avoided. We could have been, because the whole reason that Ajax went for him is because they lost a player on deadline day. We needed a Dolberg all summer. So why did it take till deadline day for the club to realise that's what we needed?
Especially if Anderlecht have been put out of Europe and stuff, and they're saying that they wanted the money and stuff. Like, it was apparently clear that Celtic offered less money than it was bargained for. And it's just, at the end of the day, the position we're in and the mess that we're in, just bringing a player like Dolberg, and you're going to get a good talent there, and I could easily change the season around, but no, it just didn't get done, and it was just like that. The player turned around and said, I don't want to come to Celtic now, and he went right away to Ajax. So it's just absolutely bizarre.
How can anybody at the club look at those forwards that we've got now, and we've not even started on the whole Adamida situation, which has turned into a mess in itself, but the fact that we've ended up with, and I want them to do well, but the fact that we've ended up with for a Europa League squad, let's say Iheanacho, Johnny Kenny, Maeda, Tenetsky, Balikwisha, Yang and Forrest, Yang who we tried to get rid of and then cancelled it. I mean, how does it happen?
It's the Celtic board, like one of the 7 wonders of the world. How does it continue? Like, how can you literally get told, do this, make a triangle here, all you need to do, and they somehow come out with a square? It's the only way I can sum up. How do you get such simple things and mess it up? Even we're touching on Dolberg here, and we said the full situation where we ran it right down to the last day. We've still been chasing a second striker since January, since Kyogo left. We've still never then replaced him. We then say we're blocking Adam Ida to go until we get a player in. Oh, do you know what, it's fine, Adam, on you go. We've not got a striker, and it seemed as if Sevilla just went, we cannot be arsed dealing with him. Just cut his contract, there you go, going a free.
We have been embarrassed.
I don't blame them for that.
No, absolutely not.
How many clubs now is that this summer that have came out and mocked the way that Celtic do business?
But most, it's just absolutely baffling to me. the fact that having the money there, so the fact getting 7 million alone for Adamida is brilliant. And what was it? I think it was 8 points something.
8.5 they wanted for Dolberg.
So there you go.
And
So
they opened up with 4 or something.
Exactly. It's,
Do you know what the most irritating part of that is, right? If Celtic went in with 8.5, what they wanted in the first place, rather than trying... This is what's happened, right? Let's just spell this out very quickly. They've sold Ida for 6 million quid, could rise to 7, and went, right, let's try and make money now. Even though we've just made £7 million, let's make money. Let's go and get Dolberg for 4.5 million. Say that fannying about rather than just going in with 8 in the first place. We could have had him before Ajax, but that could have sped up so much of that deal. But no, we lost out on them because our board are scared to fucking spend the money that isn't even theirs. Dermot Desmond, the 34% stakeholder of the club, not even the majority owner technically, he's harbouring all that money, and we're sat here the ones made to suffer, and the squad suffers because of it.
And it's that way as well. Even if you do bring Dolberg in for that money, you're probably going to profit anyway. Like, he's going to come in and surely run amok. At least that's what you would think, and that's what we hope would happen when we improve in the squad. But that's that way. They've probably just lost out more money as well that way, because we'll see how he goes at Ajax and if we'll make more money after that. But that's what we're going to lose out in. So it's just mental.
And the worst part about it is, right, say what you like about Adamida. I know that he was up for questioning, and I think we were all accepting of maybe it's right to move him on. But the fact we've let a 20 goal a year striker leave for that money, then replace them with a fat free agent who hasn't kicked his arse in years. What was the thought? Like, who is sat there? See, when the window shut at 11 o'clock, I can't even. How did it feel in the room? What was the actual emotion that surrounded everybody? Did they just turn around and go, "We've made a tit of this. Like, we have let go a striker who scored 20 goals last year, and we've not replaced him. Heck, we've not even replaced the striker that left before him in January, 200 odd days ago." What was the thought process? Who greenlighted all of that to happen? Because there seems to be no strategy in place to improve this was so simple. They had a list of positions that they needed at the start of the summer. How did they end the summer with less than what they fucking needed? It's bonkers. And we've got left wingers coming out our ears. We had Maida and Jota at the start. We didn't need a fucking left winger technically. I know we wanted somebody to fill in. How have we managed that?
Especially when Rodgers came out and says, "Oh, I'm not letting Ida go unless there's a guaranteed replacement," and then you're sitting at 20 to 11 the day after the deadline day waiting for a free agent, and you don't know if it's going to be the Leeds guy and
Bamford.
I can't even remember his name, Bamford or Ian Acho, and it's like, obviously you want Ian Acho to do well, but it's just, we've just shouldn't be in that situation, scrambling about in deadline day. It's like when you've missed like Christmas Eve, you're looking for a present later on and you can't get it. That's what it's like, innit? It's like, it's absolutely crazy how we've went for that in January, and that way as well, still no replaced Kyogo's, as you said, and he's actually one of the best players we've had in the last 5 years, and we've still no properly replaced
People
him.
were calling him the best since Larson, rightfully so.
And we've still not properly replaced him. Hopefully we've replaced Kuhn when he's the new wingers that have come in, but you don't know that, because it was again another late purchase that should have been done ages ago. So it's just an absolute shambles.
It's a mess. And like, Calum, these guys are the one. I used to get people in the comments that go, how dare you question the Celtic board? These are qualified men who make decisions and blah blah. I have done a better job at managing Celtic squad on video games than these pricks can in real life. They have took us so. This squad is miles behind the one that we started last season. It's miles behind the squad we ended last season with. And that seemed like if you told me on May the 26th or May the 27th after the Scottish Cup final that this squad would get dramatically weaker heading into the new season, I'd have went, don't talk shite. And yet, these qualified accountants and lawyers have royally fucked it. And it's got to be the last straw.
Oh, it has to. I think obviously we've all seen it, like sort of mass followings of like folk on Twitter taking themselves off like home cup ticket scheme, refusing to buy obviously like new kits, any sort of merchandise saying it comes out. But like, there has to be something else we can do for this to be impacted, because it's so bad that, as you said, there'll still be folk out there that are saying, "Oh, but the board have ran us, at least we're no ran like them." Like, but that's so well and fine, but we're being ran as if it's a club like Annan, as if we've got no funds to go and use. We're looking at players that then went, a player that I was massively fond of, was a wee bit gubbed with injuries, but Odsonne Edouard, he ended up moving on transfer deadline day for €3.7 million, what's that, about 3.3 million, and to a hefty wage cut into the bargain it. There you go, there's a striker that's come in, proven tested, you could have went, no, as you said, we've went for the striker that's not got any hamstrings, just can't run. That I don't even want to know how bad his goal record was at Middlesbrough. I don't even know if he got a goal.
I think he scored one.
There we go. One goal.
1 in 5 months.
That's obscene to me.
And listen, I said this, the way I worded it in the group chat earlier was right. Once again, Adamida, worth his criticism, clearly wasn't playing to the level that was required, and clearly could have been we had a clear case to say he could be moved on. But have I got any reason to believe that Kelechi Iheanacho is going to come in and score 20 goals this season with increased minutes than what Ida had? Absolutely not.
No.
So how have we ended up here? It's just absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And the thing is, Calum, you're right. Something has to happen. But in the words of Stephen McGowan earlier, when he was on PLZ Soccer, it's going to be so difficult. Like, it does feel helpless. Desmond is sitting there with his shares. He's so rich and powerful that nobody will speak up to him. The only hope that Celtic fans is somehow that the club together to get a 20% stake in the club. They call EGMs, they put the pressure on him, all the rest of it. But that seems so far away. Like, we've put millions of our own money being played into the account here. It just seems so difficult. So I think it is a case of making sure fans are on the same page, and they are having their voice hit loud and clear every week. They're outside the stadium protesting, they're cancelling putting money into the club. It just needs to be the wee things take money out of their pockets, it feels like, because it needs to stop. They're killing our club. I don't know about you, but I'm just scurred, man. Absolutely scurred.
As for you say, that even more so the fact that X amount of fans have to try and club so much money together to get in at that. But we've already put so much into the club as it is.
Aye.
The amount of season books sold, the amount of jerseys bought, all the piss that goes round in the match day like events. Like, it's just...
You're right. Because if you spend... Say you're buying a season book at £700 a year, then you're buying one of the shirts, takes you up to nearly £800. Then you're buying all your cup tickets, your Champions League tickets. You're spending over about £1,000 a year on Celtic. How are you meant to even be expected to go and get shares at that point when you've got a life to live? You know, that's how difficult it is, and it's scunning. It's scunning because it feels like these greedy bastards are just ripping the club away from us even more every year. And I don't know about you, Dylan, but it just kills me.
Especially with, I think, the excitement you had towards the end of last season, like, right, next season we can go on and do that extra run in the Champions League, hopefully, and stuff like that. It's not as if you're asking them to go out and spend every bit of money. It's like, you're just wanting you to do the basics, get in a striker to replace Kyogo and that, just improve a wee bit more for Champions League. It's not as if you're asking them to buy out everything. It's just absolute baffling in that way as well. It's like, even just wee daft things, like they've not even got the stadium prepared for the season as well, and it's like, you're just sitting here and it's like, are they asked? Like, we're sitting there stressing about money, trying to get season tickets ready and stuff. Europa League package has got to be expensive. That's if people even go now. So it's like, it's just an absolute mess, and I don't know how they've managed it. It's just because I think that's what annoys me more. I think if we were in a rough situation last season, then it get worse.
Aye.
But it's just the fact we were riding high last season in the league, go to the European football after January, almost took Bayern Munich to the next stage, extra time and stuff, and nearly caused an upset. So you're like, right, bounce on for this and go even further, and now we're not even in the competition.
What are they doing with that rainy day fund? What is, apart from trying to build up bonuses on their own hard work, you know, and I use quotation in case you're listening via, you know, Spotify, I've used floating quotation marks there, hard work. You know, apart from that, what is that rainy day fund actually for? Because if they're no one, the stadium's falling apart. The inside's a fucking mess. The canteen areas are all disgusting looking. The place isn't up to standard when you compare it with top stadiums. They've not done up the outside of the stadium where the storm damage took place last year. The other surrounding areas of the stadium outside the main stand are bogging looking as well. You know, the team is obviously suffering, and so many other areas aspects of the club need funding. So where is that? What is that rainy day? What is this money being harboured for? I just don't understand. What is the... And then you hear... And this is the worst part, isn't it? You hear nothing from them. When was the last time... And this is what the Green Brigade and North Cov and other fan associations are asking here. We need coherent conversation and dialogue, because we're in the dark. We have no idea what that money's been sitting there for. And as far as we know, we're not going to hear. That fan forum took place over a year ago, and we've heard nothing. What is we expected to believe?
The literally took the words. The fan forums next time was going to the fact that what was the point in that? That was then solely just so they can tick a box and say we've kept people happy, we've put that out there.
We're listening.
All the responses as if they've just went to a spam email. Nobody's reading any of them. It's parked aside. Then again, the fact that the state the stadium's in within itself, Rangers fans have made jokes about it for years and whatnot, but that's fine. That storm damage took place in January.
Aye.
I remember it taking place the week of my birthday, and I turned around and went, oh, class, need to miss a game.
Aye.
Gutted. But then the fact that we're now, September? 8 months down the line, he has been
There's
fixed.
Waynes being born that were conceived in January. And we've no fixed a fucking bit of storm damage at the stadium. Like, Christ.
I genuinely cannot wrap my head around it. As you said, if these big plans that you see folk doing the mock-ups are, if you're taking up to an 80,000 sale, which will never happen, but if that is what they were looking at, you could maybe then say, right, I can see where you're looking at putting funding in.
Yes.
Because you'll bring it in.
Exactly.
But there's nothing in the shots.
If they came out and said, you know what, lads, we've been keeping it as a surprise. We're going to surprise you for your Christmas. But we have been putting this money away because we're planning on renovating Celtic Park. We're going to be doing state-of-the-art work around the stadium. We're going to expand. Then you could maybe turn around and go, do you know what? Maybe a year in the summer window where we have to be a bit reserved makes sense. Okay, right, we're getting a new sparkling stand built. We're getting that. But we're no. And we're not hearing about anything that is getting done. This whole Barrafield complex as well. We've heard any updates on that.
Nah.
Fuck knows when that's meant to be opening. And yet, here we are, suffering every other area.
That's what makes it 10 times worse. See if you just get a wee bit of communication here and there, like what other clubs do. But we, as you said, for years, when was the last time we even heard from him? It's just, you get absolute nothing and you're just sitting guessing everything. Like, when you're talking to people at the stadium or at the pubs or at the games, you're just like, what are they doing? Like what we're saying now. Like we all say, like, there's just no communication. So if you go to that, but even, I think that's what was good about the statement with the that is like, all the questions were spot on, I think. Like, see when it comes to European progression, the transfers and stuff, like, as we spoke about it there, like, see, bringing in like Simpson Pusey, like that's the most baffling thing I've
Why
ever
did we
seen.
do it?
Why?
Why can we not have... Did you see Rangers sporting director Kevin Felwell, I think his name is, sitting down and talking about transfers, market strategy and what markets they exploited and blah blah blah. I want fucking Paul Tisdale or Michael Nicholson to sit down and tell me why we signed Jemai Simpson Pusey. Like, why did they sign him? Who was the one in the room that went, he'd be a cracking signing because he improves our squad? And why? Because he's not played and it's still, so he's going to play. So who ticked it?
Well, there's no one else. We're talking about improving players. I won't say who it is that's put it in their chat just for the sake of it, but one of their close family friends, the barber, Anthony Elson gets haircut in there in the day. Big fuck off, man. But so you wonder if it is a precaution, but there we go. We're now relying on an 18-year-old boy to come in. We don't know how long he's out for. We know Johnson's out for a couple of months. We're starting right back. Could be, 18, 19 years, Donovan?
Yeah.
Like, that's madness.
Unless you play Sirachi, of course, but he's not
you go, but then again, like, you'd hate to then put a player out of position.
Aye.
So again, we didn't really touch on him. I felt bad. Didn't really have much in the game against Rangers.
But there
you go again. There you go. That's us left ourselves short. Another thing that as soon as Johnson went off injured against Almaty at home, straight away we should have then been saying, right, our right back's now needed as well as part of this window. Yet another thing we've been done out of. Just as we're touching on fans trying to get ourselves in as well. That's one thing Germany does perfect. That 51%.
51.
It's so good and it makes so much sense. But then again, we would never see it like that here. Solely up until Desmond was to somehow take a dizzy spin and walks away.
Aye, and which will just never happen because we've already been told by Ross Desmond in the past that the day that Dermot's gone, it's fine. Ross will be there. He'll be ready to
Steps
take
right
fucking. He'll be ready to assume orders probably the day he snuffs it, and it will just continue the way that it's went. The club is just. It feels like it's just been drained of all fucking life, and like we've alluded to the fact that these Europa League games, the stadium could be half empty, and I think there will be plenty of supporters there who are ready to sweep up the rewards of people giving up their ticket scheme or their season book for the games. But at the end of the day, we're probably going to get fucking horsed in this competition. We are miles off it. So what incentive are we being given to actually go to the games? I don't like letting the team suffer. And I want to go to the games. I really fucking do. I don't like giving up on the players and the manager. They don't deserve it. Well, maybe they have the last couple of games, but they don't deserve to be abandoned. And I hate that whole abandoning them. But some principles are bigger than the game itself. And quite frankly, we are not prepared for this Europa League group. And even though it's quite a nice draw, what evidence do we have to suggest that we're ready to take these teams on? Because there's nothing there to suggest we're going to do it.
Nah, absolutely not. Most of the fact, about first team at the door, Roma, straight away like that. I said it off straight away.
Aye.
You're not really expecting much for them. But then you're looking at the likes of like Strumgratz and you think, maybe there's there. But then again, if we couldn't score a single goal against a club, I'm not saying anything bad against them because the club put us out and they made a plenty. But if we can't even score a goal against a team like Almaty, even at home, what chance do folk think we've then got there, considering we'd get into that, we're still yet a depleted squad. I know that's a wee bit into the group stages, but still, That's madness.
Aye.
That's how it's sum up, because when you come to this time last year, when you're playing good in the Champions League, and then towards January, see if you asked any of us, oh, you're in the Europa League next year somehow, and then you're getting all these teams, you'd fancy yourself to beat every single one of them.
Aye.
And now we're so nervous about these other teams, and you're just like, if you asked me this in January, we should be like getting further in the Europa League, but that's how bad it's going and how much we've messed up in the transfers.
I know, because I think back to February time when we were playing Bayern Munich, and I see if you told me we'd been in the Europa League, it would be, well, I'd be like, how the fuck we ended up there? That's a disaster. But if we were there, I'd be like, all right, I fancy us going on some form of run, maybe if it's even as far as the quarterfinals or whatever, cool. But no, like, and fans will go, you're just being far too pessimistic, far too negative. I'm like, you can't blame us.
Nah.
We've got no ammunition to suggest that we are good enough to go on a run or to beat teams. So, you know, I mean, I envy those that have the positivity still around them, but it's gone for me.
Sorry to keep going on about the signings and all.
No,
but
feel free, fire on.
See the fact that obviously Brendan Rodgers came out and said Inamura is not a favourite. He's not going to be in the squad, which he expected, right? Yamada, sorry, as well. Pusey and that, but I'm just like, see, even not just Pusey, like, why even bring these players in if they're not going to be ready for that level? Like, our thing at the start of the season was like, bring in people who are ready to take us to that next level. Albeit Kairat, we should have still beat them with that squad, right? I think that, but you should have still been like, just to make sure, right? Bring these players in for the qualifiers just to make sure we're at that stage and we're getting to that next level. So the fact none of that's happened and all the signings have been questionable just shows you where we are and why it's happened.
The squad planning doesn't exist. It's as simple as that. If we squad planned, we'd have a 25-man registered squad. We have a 24-man, and I know people will go, "Oh, it's just because blah blah blah." And I get why it's a 24-man squad, but it should be. Celtic should have had a list of 25 names that they were going to be good enough to play in the Champions League this year, and that should have been the squad. But instead, we've fucking took a bargain for here, a bargain for there. Celtic spent less than like however many clubs across Europe, including the likes of Wrexham, including the likes of Birmingham, we spent less than some teams in second divisions across Europe this year. That is fucking terrible.
Even Rangers, they've spent
Rangers, I know. They've used the most obvious example.
They've spent double our money, right, and they've spent 8 million, and albeit a player that they think is going to be rubbish, but at least they've still went out and spent 8 million. Like, that's what we stood on with Dolberg with that money. It's just unbelievable. They get rejected for, the Charlton one as well. Like, that just shows you how bad it is when he's wanting to go to Charlton instead of Celtic and not play in Europe.
And this is what I worry about, Calum, this is what I worry about. The damage that has been done to Celtic's reputation this summer, on and off the park. It feels like, look, listen, history dictates we'll be fine. One day we'll be fine and we'll laugh back at all, we'll look at all this and we'll go, what a weird couple of months that was, and I'm glad that we're at the other end of it. But that, for all we know, that could be 2-3 years away. This could present significant damage in Europe's stage for Celtic for a long time. But like, players are refusing to come to us and rather go to teams like Charlton. Managers are laughing about how we conduct ourselves. Boards across Europe have outed Celtic, and former players like Benjamin Seacrest are laughing at us as well. It's mortifying. It's absolutely mortifying. And like, we're talking about Rodgers and potentially going at the end of the year. When managers looking at this and going, I fancy that job, I fancy working with board members that seem like they don't have a fucking clue.
That was the exact point I put forward to my dad. It was all week. We're talking about, funnily enough, Spurs, Daniel Levy, obviously, having just left. But again, if, obviously, for example, like, if they even say to Thomas Frank, by the way, like, you'll come in, you'll get to spend X, Y, Z, and turn, well, that's all well and good. Obviously, he did get to do it.
Aye.
You're boarded in turn, well, if he turns good, we'll punt him. Might have about 7-8 million to go and spend.
Also, we're board with a proven track record of lying to managers, it seems, as well.
Yep, it's absolutely baffling to me. More so the fact that I know there's a long way to go at the end of the season. You don't know who'll be available come then and whatnot. But as you said, having looked at the state of your board for this summer, what manager then goes, I'll go and work under the restrictions?
Aye.
It's absolutely madness.
Some desperate has-been that is going to do no good for the club. That's what, like, I remember a couple of years ago how excited I was for Graham Potter to potentially be an option for Celtic. See if he gets sacked for West Ham, he might be the Sellik manager next year, and that plonker is on a right downward spiral. Like, that's the kind of situation we're going to be having to deal with managers that are on like the downwards trajectory rather than managers that are, promising and looking for a proper next step. We're going to be looking for managers that are looking to take a step back. And that's not the position you want to be in. You want to be in a position of strength. And Celtic right now are just nowhere in any function of a football club in a position of strength. And it's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. We're ranting their hearts here. I mean, listen, I'm going to just take us onto the Q&A and go through what people are asking us. But any thoughts altogether about this summer, about this last week in particular that I've no mentioned that you want to, will I load up questions?
Can't really think. Try and get one that's no Celtic related, to be honest with you.
I think the only hope, if you want to try and stay positive, right, is hopefully we do turn it around, and then in January we're still in the Europa League, and then we do make good signings, which we should have done this season, by the way, and then we go on a run. But obviously it doesn't look likely. But yeah,
but January is like a month where the Celtic board could, you know, not win back supporters. I think that's they're forever finished in the eyes of us, I think. But they can at least repair some of the damage that's been done, hypothetically speaking. But you know what you hit me? Well, January's famously a month it's very difficult to conduct your business, and people don't want to talk to you and blah blah. People don't want to talk to you because you don't pick up the phone, you specky twat. Like, you know?
One never even touched on the voice note that was staying around.
But yeah, I should believe it.
It's believable.
It's definitely
that.
I've heard stories similar for people who are very well in the know about how Nicholson is just like, you know, apparently that's how they had the Ida deal. It was something to do with Desmond or Nicholson. We ended up spending 9 million on Ida because apparently Norwich were like,
dragging their
fuck
heels.
yous. Like, we've been trying to get a hold of yous for fucking weeks, and you know. But I thought I thought I cut you off there.
No, just I was going to say, like, but that voice note is one of the ones you think that's so fake, but it's so fake to the fact that's actually believable because of what you've just touched on. The stuff that we've then obviously been told by the folk, it's just madness how bad it can be.
Listen, usually we'd hit this point of the podcast to do a quiz. There is no quizzing today. We are not in a position to be quizzing. This is a let it all out special.
We'll bring a quiz back and Celtic win a game.
When we score a goal.
There we go.
We've got plenty of them. Dylan, could you do me a favour? Can you see how long we've been recording on that stream deck earlier? 42? Wow. We've let it all out, haven't we?
I wear glasses for driving, so I don't know if that's what I'm saying, but I think that says 42.
Well, it does feel like we've probably been gone that long. Right, let's get on to the Twitter questions. We have a lot of them today, as you would expect. We'll start with Aaron. Aaron, who says, does Celtic refusing to restructure like a modern football club worry you, while the traditional other clubs in the Premiership have clear strategies and are more willing to invest than ever? Is there a chance that in a few years we fall behind not just Rangers domestically? And of course, this comes off the back of the likes of Hearts and Hibs receiving large investment. I mean, look at Aberdeen going out and signing the likes of Jesper Karlsson alone, who would probably walk into the Celtic team right now. These teams are getting better, and you know, the significance of that might not seem like it's there yet, but one day it probably will feel significant, Calum. And Celtic can't just pretend that they won't catch us at some point.
No, I think even as you touched on the likes of Hearts and Hibs there, Tony Bloom, you get absolutely like dumbfounded for the fact that folk hounding him for saying Hearts could win a trophy in the next 10 years. Go and be as ambitious you like, but see if we keep running in the same way and he keeps doing the positive things for them funding in. I'm not saying specifically just Hearts. There's nothing to say that couldn't not happen. For us to then do it, it's...
People laughed at him. At least he's got ambition.
Exactly. There you go. He's not out and he said, I'm not saying that's a dead on target. We will win it within 10. So we could win it within 10 years. He's obviously put a good bit of funding into him. He's doing the right things. As you said, there's literally never say never for him. But
I could only dream of a board member of that level at Celtic coming out and saying, our aim in the next 10 years is to win a European trophy. That's what you want to... So, I don't... See when he came out and said that about, we want to win the league in the next 10 years. That's what I want for Celtic on a higher scale. I wouldn't fucking laugh at Michael Nicholson if he came out and said that. I'd say, right, go out and do it then. So fair play him.
Especially, he's probably looking at it now as well, with even Rangers stating, like, yeah, am I right? You just never know.
The biggest problem they obviously have is trying to attract top players. That's no easy. Like, they can't win leagues without top players, and it's hard enough to get players to Celtic and Rangers than it is to get them to Hearts and Hibs. So that's going to take time, but why hound the guy for actually just having ambition? As stupid as it might sound, I fucking wish we had that ambition at Celtic.
Exactly.
I fucking wish. But Hibs as well, like how promising they looked in Europe, Dylan. And yet, there's us.
At least they showed a bit of hunger. I mean, they were unlucky and kind of threw it away, but they still, well, was it 3-1 up in it, and albeit they hit the bar as well, and just see stuff like that. Just, they had the passion and energy, and it's just, you know, you looked at Celtic against Kairat, and like, as no disrespect to Kairat, but we should have easily swept them aside in that game, and it should have been that job done. Like, you've seen harder draws early years for Celtic, and at least there was hunger and there was fight, and then just you looked at that, there was just nothing.
Yep. And that's a nice transition into Phil's point. Nice to see you, Phil, as always, saying that the old Pals Act must stop. Football has evolved and left these pricks behind, which is spot on the money. But his second point, if Rodgers doesn't cut the bullshit and keeps on protecting them, then he will lose me. And I think that's, you know, Brendan Rodgers is somebody who's came out and said, you know, these guys, they bleed green and white and all the rest of it. Like, I think a lot of people were making the point that Rodgers could have done his legacy a huge turn if he just, number one, either said these guys are not doing their job and they should be hounded for it, or B, some people suggest he even should have just walked and went, fuck this, I'm not, like, I was promised something else, somebody else can handle it. But he's done neither. He's kind of came out and hid behind it a wee bit, Cal.
I reckon had he done option B there and walked and come out and said the reason I walked is because this, and pointed it out. Aye. He's not sort of hanging away still game. Like, you're a prick. You're a prick. You're through it. See if he went and done that and came out and called him out for it and he'd left, I think MD would have gave it that full, or what happened to 3 years. Because he's come out and proven, why would you want to stay under that? It's as if he's hit his ceiling at that point. He can't go any further with him. You know, no, do you know what, call it a day.
He almost had the chance to prove himself right about the first time, didn't he? Like, you know, I left and you all hounded me for it, but this is why I done it and I'm doing it again.
Exactly. But again, we're literally seeing it happen, like for like, again, not so much down to that third season syndrome, but we're seeing the same patterns at play. It's Waterloo Barber. The history books repeating it. It's just,
And the thing is, you don't want to lose a manager like Brendan. You know, you're going to struggle to find many managers better than him. I know we're going through a rough patch at the minute, but this refusal to admit that things can get better is a bit too much for this stage of the season for my liking. Things can get better, and he is a top manager. So you don't want to lose him, but you almost kind of feel sympathetic and understanding of his case if he was to go.
I think it's, as Will touched on earlier, he definitely deserves some of the criticism that comes his way when it comes to him, that's fine. But see, when it comes to this part of it, I don't think I could think of many folk that would blame him if he did go, do you know what? Fuck that.
Especially when he first came back to Celtic, you were like, everybody was still 50-50 about him, but it was like, he clearly said what he wanted to achieve in his first presser, and then you look at it and it's just like, he's not getting the answers and stuff, and then he's been bled to die basically in the pressers. But that's when it's like, when he sees the stuff like the bleeds green and white, it makes you a wee bit annoyed at him. It's just like, why, like, we wouldn't blame you for walking because you're not getting what you want and stuff. And that's when you look at the signings, like, who was Brendan Rodgers' signings here if he's not wanting certain people to win the squad and stuff? So
if Dermot Desmond bled green and white, he'd turn up at the fucking AGM. And I love Rodgers with all my heart, but that is bullshit. The guy does not bleed green and white, because if he did, he'd be at the AGMs, he'd go to the games every week like we all do, and he'd turn up and care about the club. But no, he's out playing golf with fucking Rory McIlroy. So he clearly doesn't give that much of a shite. Club's in disarray and fans are protesting. He's out getting a fucking 9-holer with Big Rory. Painful. Also, he did throw in, just to change the mood for a second, he said his favourite movie of 2025 is the new Naked Gun. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet.
Not yet, but to be the trailers I've seen looked quite good.
It was good.
I will make a point of watching it when it surfaces now.
It's good film. Service. So many laugh out loud moments, he says. I like to see Phil happy. It's not all bad, this says Jamie. At least Tom Rogic is back at the weekend. We'll end up signing him.
He's going to score too. I can't tell him back a heartbeat.
That's what I was saying. I was watching his highlights like, to cheer me up, so I honestly wouldn't mind at this point. Can't get any worse.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was like, you know, one in here a minute.
That, but it's straight at United team.
That's a cheek to rock up for a Legends game with that. Big Waz is not even coming up.
You'd have thought he would have shot what else then.
Match of the day is not even on this weekend.
No. There you go, international break.
England, but I don't know.
So. Put it back, fucking ping the ball out with Kai. He'll be a player.
Louis Saha's playing, isn't he?
I think so.
Berbatov, Saha,
Carrick, I think they were the three. Darren Fletcher as well, I think they were the kind of four big ones.
That's still fucking game innit?
Fuck into this Celtic team. Kevin says, obviously it was an awful transfer window, but did Dolberg to Ajax, a club many want us feel like Oh, right. Oh, yes. That's a good point. So Kevin basically saying, Dolberg going to Ajax, who's a club that we've said for years Celtic should operate more like. Does that make it hurt a wee bit more?
100%. So for the fact that he's already been there, and then again, like, he could have went and built a new branch his career, but he's then looked at the state we've been in and went, fuck that, and thought, let's just get back there, because he knows what he's got. He knows how good a system they've got there. It's, as we've touched on it for years, why have we not been ran like them? Other likes of Brighton, folk like that. It's
because he's came out and said why he's went back, and it's, do you know what, fair enough to him, because I think he said his children were born there. It's almost like a second home to him. He wanted to go back because it feels like home, and that's fair, that's understandable. But you've got to ask yourself, Dylan, if Celtic operated along the likes of an Ajax, maybe it would have been able to give him a sore head. Maybe it would have been able to go, I could go back home, but Celtic, they're serious business. They do this or that, but they don't have any of these things to weigh up their head. They don't have any of these situations.
Especially if we'd done it early on the transfer window, say, instead of leaving everything at the last minute, and then we were still in the playoffs, you'd be like, hold on a minute here, if I go to Celtic, a big team in Scotland, who did well in Champions League last season, I could go there, make a name for myself, get a big move, and hang me my career. But we just made a mess of it, and we don't blame him for not coming. So
nah, absolutely not. You do not blame whatsoever. You very easily could have came, just used us as a stepping stone club to then going for his career on that. They've been absolutely fine. It's not as if anybody expects him to come here and stay for life. And they will at this point in football. But just for him to so then just go, no, I'll kind of happy to just get back to the stone I was at. You're like, fuck, are we that bad?
Oh, it's just, I've accepted it. I've accepted our place in the stones of life, you know, we're fucking back there. Cal, who's always here, asking, is it drastic to say this, that losing the league is probably the only way to get change at the club? Similar to what happened during COVID, you know, we lost the league, it ushered out Peter Lawwell, brought in Don Mackay, ushered the managerial and systematic change as well at the time, albeit short-lived because Lawwell returned and Don Mackay went. But is that the only real way to kind of force change in a big scale, is by losing a league title? Is that it?
I think if it's to happen before losing the league title, I reckon it would take, for example, losing the League Cup, for the state that we're in just now, with how far apart the fans and the board are. If we were to then not go in, for example, win the Premier Sport Cup, I reckon that could set off a pretty big bit of it. So again, folk like, there you go, that's another treble at the window that we kind of go and win. And I'm not saying that's when you get that self-entitlement all you are expecting is trebles. But we should be, considering we should have, by far and wide, the best club within Scotland. We should be then doing that.
Exactly.
But if we were to then go and don't win that first trophy of the season, considering the way we've also started, no Champions League football, I reckon that could have a pretty significance.
And that kind of links into this, Aidan asking, do you think that Don Mackay would ever come back, or is that bridge burnt? But Dylan, why would he want, unless there was a full clean out of the boardroom at Celtic, why would a man ever want to come back and work with people that probably treated him like shite and gave him 90 days in a job, which he was actually performing quite well at?
You just can't see that happening, just the way it happened, the way it unfolded at the start when he came. So it was actually a person that came in with Andrew you were actually excited about as well. So that basically just sums up the mess there as well. But obviously Andrew came in, done a brilliant job, and it's just that way, like, see what Calum was saying there about like entitlement. Like, obviously we want to win trophies, but the main thing for me is performance. Like, it's just, you've seen in the last couple of weeks, it's just been no effort, it's just been flat, and that's just what annoys me the most. So as he says, if we go into towards the December period and we don't win the League Cup and the performances are still, I didn't think that would set it off.
Right, we'll move on to a point about boycotting and things like that. Now, I want to hear everybody's opinions. So obviously a lot of people talking about, are you going to take your name off a home cup ticket scheme, are you going to boycott buying the packages and stuff like that? Look, listen, I've made it clear on the channel a couple of times now that I think that Celtic fans are in a position to, and well within their rights, to make their own decision. I don't think you should be forced by anyone, whether that be me or anybody else, to take yourself out of watching the games. If you still want to go and watch Europa League games, then do it. You know, and I get it, because you want to support your club, but there are a lot of people who are revoking their packages. In fact, one of the people in the comments was Tommy, saying he's cancelled his home cup ticket scheme, won't be going into the Europa League games, won't give them another penny, and then one of the lads, Capital Boy, asking, are any of us going to do it? I think I am. I'm going to retract myself from it for the year, but it's gotten, because I don't want to miss the games at like Hampden, but I can't sit on YouTube and talk about boycotting them all and then go, well, you know. But, you know, it's just, I wouldn't fault fans at all for doing it.
Nah, not at all. As we touched on, there has to be some way that the fans can then try and impact, because again, we're massively priced out of trying to take over in any capacity of a fan ownership or a percentage. So that seems to be the only way financially we then can try and make some form of a hit.
Aye.
Between that, not buying the fucking 400 kits comes out every year. Can say it now because I'm leaving Adidas. But you know what I mean? Like,
Aye.
that seems to be the only way we can financially try and make a hit.
Aye. I mean, we're all home cup ticket scheme members, aren't we? And it's just nuts. You think about how much money you put in and you get fuck all back, you know. But aye, we've got a few more comments to kind of finish up the day's stream of or podcast, I should say, moaning and all the rest of it. Yang, somebody asking why he's been left out of the European squad, but he's not been. Yang's in the European squad, which is another. We were about to punt him. And he's got a space in the squad.
That's the way I know. It's like, I actually feel sorry for him, to be fair. Like,
same. I mean,
he does take a good bit of stick off Celtic fans, and then the fact that we've shipped him away down, was it Birmingham?
Aye,
Birmingham, and it's like it's fell through, and then he's come back up here, and he's been like forced to stay, I guess you could say, and then he's in the Europa squad, and it's just such a weird one, because not in a bad way to Yang, but I did think he was going to be one of the ones that were left out. But he's in now, and obviously we need to stick with me, but it's just another bizarre situation in this transfer window.
I wonder if he went down to one look at Birmingham and went, this is a fucking dump. Fuck that.
Oh, apparently it was us that called him back up the road, so...
No,
I'm not a Yang fan. I've made it clear, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's well off the mark for Sellik, and he probably needs a move. But I feel bad for the lad, especially because he's from fucking South Korea. Like,
he's a fucking long way from home. It's not
exactly,
fucking
he's
just
been
up the
pissed
road.
about by a group of fucking clowns that don't know what they're doing. It's a shame.
It's a lot of hassle.
It's a lot of hassle as well. I can't imagine the toll it takes on somebody that barely speaks a word of English and they're having to go up and down the country knowing what the next part of their future is. It's a shame. And a lot of other questions, mostly around the same things. We are going to wrap it up there for the sake of time. And there's so many things that we could talk about that we probably haven't even scratched the surface of, but we've got a full season to do that, I guess. How, just to wrap it up, how does things get better from here, do you think? If you were just to give like a kind of simple solution to fan happiness, what is the realistic next steps? I mean, first and foremost, get better on the pitch. I think that's safe to say, but like outside of that, what needs to happen now?
I think it's free cyanide capsules and free mugs of tea in it. That's your half-time tea, boys. No, I think there needs to be something like, don't use a pure gimpy phrase like a squad building thing, but something has to happen. Have like a squad meeting, boys go in, like, listen, this is clear, this is going to be us for the season. On the outside noise, you need to try and just tune out as much as possible. Just that phrase, do your talk on the pitch, go out there and perform, because you've still got folk like showing up week in, week out to support you. Go and do it for them. Don't do it for the folk up there. Because
realistically, fuck all's going to change in the boardroom. But if they lads can give the fans something to smile about, and if they can play above the expectations that maybe fans have of them right now, it's a big step in the right direction.
Oh, definitely. Because then at least it gets fans that are like fans back on side, the ones that are kind of away from the manager and the team. You're supporting them. That's fine. Just again, turn that blind eye to the folk up there. Just do it for the folk in the stands. It
might be a daft question, Dylan, but is there any way back for the ones in the suits?
Nah, I don't think so.
Have to go?
Unless you win the Europa League, but...
That is probably the only way, isn't it? And even at that,
absolute shambles.
It's nuts to say it aloud, but it's true. Even if Celtic... Let me make this clear. We're not going to. But if Celtic were to somehow win the Europa League, that ain't going to... The guys up there, Michael Nicholson, they still will be hounded by Celtic supporters. They don't deserve an ounce of our time or respect, I don't think, at this point. Nope. So even if we did win it, well done to the players and the manager for winning it.
It's just that way. It's just the problems in the boat. It's just been going on for too long. I think everybody's seen that clip that was going about for 11 years ago. And it's just, you could take it the now, and it's just the same thing. So it's just that way. It's just the amount of time we've had as well to solve all these problems since January, since the start of the season, and just nothing get done. And it was just a lot of last minute nonsense and after deadline and stuff. So,
and we suffered because of it.
Yes.
What a cheery hour. I'm glad we've got another 25, half an hour to go in the Thunder Club. Lads, thank you for joining me on this episode of the show. We'll be back next week for the preview ahead of is it Kelly that we play, and then obviously we will get closer to the Europa League actually starting as well. So who knows, maybe this time next week the board will have said hello and we'll have something to go off, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. Right, take care of yourself. We'll see you all next week. Cheerio.